Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a really complex situation, one that feels like it's evolving almost constantly.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the escalating conflict between
Yeah.
Israel and Iran. And, the really big piece here, maybe the seismic piece, is the potential for direct U.S. involvement.
That's the huge question mark, isn't it?
It is. So our mission, as always, is to dive into the sources, unpack the latest developments, the statements, the impacts on the ground, really try and give you the clearest possible understanding.
Yeah, sift through the noise and see what's actually being reported. And it's been intense. For 6 nights straight now, Israel's kept up what's being called an unprecedented assault on Iran.
6 nights.
Yeah.
Unprecedented.
Right. And this isn't just rhetoric heating up. We're seeing real military action, very tangible stuff.
Okay, so let's break that down. What does this unprecedented assault actually look like? What kind of targets are we talking about?
Well, the Israeli military itself stated that over 50 planes hit something like 20 targets across Tehran just overnight.
50 planes, 20 targets. Wow.
Yeah. And we've seen images, apparently from Iranian TV, showing air defenses lighting up the sky over the capital, trying to counter these incoming strikes.
What were they hitting?
Specific targets, it seems. Sources mention a university that's linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guards, the IRGC, their elite force,
Right.
and also facilities connected to Iran's missile program and, crucially, its nuclear program.
The nuclear program. That's obviously key.
Definitely. And to give you a sense of the impact, there are satellite images circulating. They show a military base in Tabriz that's up in the northwest before the strike, and then, well, after. You can really see the difference.
So clear physical evidence of the strikes.
Okay.
Turning to Iran now, how are they responding? Are they still managing to launch attacks of their own?
They are. Their air defenses, as I mentioned, were active over Tehran. And reports say they are still firing at Israel, although maybe not quite at the same intensity as initially. Overnight, we know missiles were intercepted over Tel Aviv. There was some limited damage reported, but thankfully no more casualties mentioned in these sources.
That's something, at least.
And here's a really interesting detail. The Iranians apparently claimed they used a hypersonic missile for the first time.
Hypersonic? Really?
Yeah, which, as you know, are designed to be incredibly fast and maneuverable, making them much more difficult for current air defense systems to shoot down. It adds a new layer to the threat.
It certainly does. A significant technological claim there. But, beyond the missiles and the targets, there's always the human cost. What are the sources telling us about life for ordinary people in Iran right now?
It sounds incredibly difficult. Terrifying times is the phrase used to describe life in Tehran.
Terrifying.
Shops are shut, streets are quiet. Lots of people just holed up at home, hiding in basements, garages, wherever they feel safest.
Just trying to ride it out.
Exactly. And we have this powerful account from Nagiz Mohammadi. She's the Nobel Peace Prize winner, spent years in Iranian jails.
Right, I remember her.
She's quoted saying, "I witnessed horrendous attacks." And she specifically points out they're hitting infrastructure and warns about a lot of civilian deaths.
That's devastating to hear. It really grounds the conflict in human suffering beyond the military strategy. Are there other sort of ripple effects impacting daily life?
Oh, definitely. The sources paint a really stark picture. Huge traffic jams reported with people trying to flee Tehran, obviously fearing further escalation.
Understandable.
Then you have shortages hitting petrol, food, even basic things like cash machines apparently aren't working. Life is grinding to a halt in many ways.
Paralysis.
Yeah. And many Iranians and foreign nationals, too, are trying to get out if they can. Some are heading for the border, like the one with Pakistan. But the reports emphasize that many, many others are just trapped, stuck where they are. And everyone's afraid of what happens next.
Which inevitably brings us to the United States. What's the latest on their potential involvement? We're hearing some very strong language from President Trump, according to the sources.
Extremely strong language, yes. President Trump is reportedly considering actually joining the attacks, specifically targeting Iran's nuclear site.
Joining the attacks, wow.
And he's called for Iran's unconditional surrender. He even used really provocative descriptions, calling Iran's supreme leader an easy target and, while threatening potentially to kill him.
Incredibly direct language. So is the U.S. leaning towards military action?
The reports suggest that, yes, that the administration is leaning more towards direct involvement rather than, say, diplomacy at this stage.
And what would that involvement look like?
It could mean sending U.S. troops into the region specifically to deploy these bunker buster bombs, the munitions designed to penetrate hardened, deep underground facilities. The aim would be to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities wherever they're hidden.
Bunker busters. That's serious hardware. And, this feels like such a potential turning point. The sources really emphasize how much of a departure this would be for President Trump personally,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's being framed as potentially a profoundly defining moment for his presidency. I mean, this is a leader who campaigned hard on no foreign wars.
He did. Very explicitly.
He accused President Obama of trying to start a war with Iran. And it was only back in May, wasn't it, that he was in Saudi Arabia saying the era of foreign intervention was over.
Exactly. I remember that speech. So the question many might ask is, what happened? What changed?
It's a huge question. This potential shift away from that core America First non-interventionist stance, it's massive. The sources hint that maybe there's new intelligence or shifting geopolitical calculations driving this. Perhaps the perceived threat from Iran's nuclear program now just outweigh that earlier rhetoric for the administration.
A recalculation of priorities, maybe.
Could be. But the bottom line is the uncertainty. If the U.S.